We thought that we would have a conversation, I don't think we've ever done this before, about the differences between UK Christmases, or at least what it's been like for me over here, and compared to the traditions that I normally am used to in America. So when I first moved over here and spent Christmas with you, there were differences. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but one of the big rows that we had, and I will say argument, is the stocking. Because in America, we hang the stockings over, on the mantle, and they, hang down, because that's where Santa Claus comes from.
Obviously not true, because Father Christmas, not Santa Claus, by the way.
Santa.
Father Christmas has to come down the chimney, and he has to have his stocking with him before he comes down the chimney. Otherwise, he hasn't got time to put all the presents in.
No. So he comes down with his bag, and then the stockings are right there. It's super easy for him to just put the presents in the stocking. He doesn't have to go to everybody's bedrooms. And then he can just put the presents underneath the tree, and up he goes back on his sleigh to the next one.
I think you're making life too difficult for Father Christmas.
No.
I think that he has them with him, and he fills them, and then he deposits them on the bed.
How can he? So when I moved over here,
this was one difference.
No, but can you say where your stocking goes though? So because people won't know.
Stocking goes at the end of the bed. Father Christmas comes down the chimney covered in soot. He's got the stocking prepared. He runs up to the bedroom and he lays it on the end of your bed. And when you wake up in the morning as a young child and you hear that crinkle of the holly that is sticking out of it, you didn't have holly sticking out of your stockings, did you?
And nor do we put a tangerine at the bottom of the foot of the.
Do you mean a clementine? You don't put a clementine at the end of your stocking?
No.
Well, how does anyone know when the end of the stocking is? Because that's the clue that you've run out of presents. You reach down, you grab that last present, but it's not a present, it's a tangerine or a clementine.
Okay.
And you finish.
So this makes no sense if you rewind this and then watch. He's saying that Santa comes down with the stocking all prepared, but when our children would go to bed at night, when they were younger, they would lay their stocking at the end of their bed. Right, so then how could he have the stockings ready when he comes down the chimney?
This is the mystery of Father Christmas. I don't think we're going to delve too deeply into that one. Let's go on to the next one. Something I remember very well. When we had our first Christmases together and the children were very young, you could not see the Christmas tree. Do you know why you couldn't see the Christmas tree? Because there were so many presents they were enormous.
That's right, because they were all from Santa.
And the tree was invisible, but there was just this massive
we do have 4 children.
Yes, but this was absolutely, how many presents under the tree did Santa give to children?
Probably like
10.
Because that's the other difference, is that Santa over in this country, Father Christmas, only gives presents in the stocking that's on their bed.
Of course.
Everything else under the tree
how's he supposed to carry all the other presents?
Is from family and friends. So there's no presents under the tree that are from Santa / Father Christmas. That one I could not get my head around. And I remember saying, no, they just get lots of Christmas presents from Santa.
Julie was trying to pick me up on a bit of Santa logic. How does Santa manage to go around with so many enormous presents and get them all under the tree as well? And what's the point of the stocking if the presents go under the tree? I think I've got it.
No, it's terrible. Anyway, there is no Santa, so
What do you mean there is no Santa? That children take absolutely no notice of Julie. She knows not what she says. Moving on.
You should have seen Stephen's look.
That was just appalling. She's just burst every child's dream.
Should we put a disclaimer at the beginning of this video? Do not watch this video with your children.
The whole point is that until that moment, we had maintained our belief, my belief, Stephen and Claire's belief in Father Christmas. You may not believe, I choose to believe. Anyway, other differences.
I'm a believer in other things.
Other differences that we had. Now, what about in the morning, getting up? You see, children would normally, in an English household, or at least ours, they would come running into our bedroom with their enormous stockings, and we would have a mass stocking opening, which would just be a kind of fiesta of paper and holly and clementines and little presents. And that was one of the great joys of Christmas.
And I liked that tradition, to be honest, and I took that on. But in America, we would run down to the chimney to the fireplace and grab our stocking and just rip everything open. So you were allowed to open up your stocking from Santa Claus, but they weren't as like the gifts that we give our children in their stockings are like proper gifts from Father Christmas. But in America,
as well as all the ones...
America, the stockings were just like filled with like little things, like
Candies.
a pen or
Sweets.
candies or
Is that
sweets.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So it wasn't like you were opening up presents, and you
Yeah.
never wrapped the presents
Oh
in
my
the
goodness.
stocking.
Do
You would
know
just
what?
put the things in the stocking.
That is one American tradition I would be really happy
Yeah,
to
there wasn't
inherit.
anything
because
wrapped in the stocking.
Typically, with 4 children, we are up till what, 3:30 in the morning wrapping?
We were.
Hang on a second, that's not true because Father Christmas does it all.
That's right.
Yeah, so I take that all back. Sometimes he gets a helping hand. Anyway, that was one other one. Other
Right.
things in the morning. Now, critical rule in our house, growing up, you weren't allowed presents until lunchtime. But as far as I remember it, it becomes a massive free-for-all. When you've got such a big pile of presents that you can't see the tree, it's really important that the children get in there early and open up a few of them. So you would allow lots of presents.
I would, and
before lunch.
they just wanted to, because you want to have them entertained throughout the day. You know, then
You mean
then they're
kept
nagging
quiet,
you.
I think is what you
No,
mean.
but then they're nagging you. Your lunch over here isn't until like 2 o'clock. So
No, 1.
1.
1 o'clock.
1:30.
But you're right, lunch is Christmas lunch a bigger thing over here? Christmas lunch, of course, we have turkey. And one of the great joys of being married to Julie, and there are many joys, is I get to have turkey twice a year.
Thanksgiving.
But that also means that you have turkey on
Well,
Christmas.
it doesn't.
But then again,
because
you don't eat.
I don't eat meat. So there you go. So I have
you
turkey.
you get the smell of it.
Yum.
Now we've moved into lunch.
Yes.
I think there is another big difference with the lunch.
Massive.
And
Well, you just said
That's
number
all the
one,
turkey.
we wouldn't have. I mean, I never had turkey at Christmas. I don't ever remember having turkey at Christmas. We'd have goose, or we'd have a good piece of like Chateaubriand or something like that.
that was quite good French. Can you say that again? Chateaubriand.
No, I'm not going to.
In Italian, she'd pronounce it perfectly.
Yeah, I
Okay,
would.
so you have that, but then you have Christmas pudding or plum pudding.
No, we would.
And that is almost the most exciting moment of the day.
It doesn't
because
taste
in comes
really-
a silver platter with a Christmas pudding on
The
it.
presentation is lovely, but the taste.
With heated brandy, warmed up brandy, poured over the top, lit, holly on the top, and almost invariably we feel like the fire is going to escape and the fire alarms are going to go off. It's a massive flambeau.
And then they stick, the fun bit for the kids is you do stick pound coins,
It's got-
50p, 20p.
When I was growing up, in the Christmas pudding, we had hidden 2p, 5p, possibly a 10p. But these days, the kids are super disappointed if they don't get a £2 coin. £2 coin is, what, almost $3.
Our pudding dessert would be a birthday cake to Jesus.
Really?
That's what a lot of Americans do. We'd have
Right.
a birthday cake to Jesus.
So we would have Christmas pudding, which of course is made from what we would it'd be a sort of suet pudding, and then we'd have all of these coins buried in it, which the kids would find, and then that would be Christmas lunch finished. But then of course there's tea, and at tea we would then have Christmas cake,
And I really
which,
can't
as far
tell
as I can tell, is made from almost exactly the same material as Christmas pudding.
You just don't like
Except
this
it's,
one on
except
fire.
it's got an icing on the top.
Right, it has an icing on the top.
And the problem with both Christmas cake and Christmas pudding is that hardly anybody eats it.
No.
So I always feel rather bad because there's
Why
quite a lot left over.
Birthday cake for Jesus was a lot more delicious.
But we've forgotten one more thing
Just saying.
that we would have with the Christmas cake. Brandy butter. Oh my goodness. That stuff is
with
delicious.
the Christmas pudding.
With the Christmas pudding.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have cream. Well, you might have cream as well, but you'd have brandy butter, which was rather like a kind of brandy-infused syrupy
Butter.
icing. Well, yeah.
You-
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. But it's more than it was more
So
than
if you
butter.
didn't get the takeaway from brandy butter, it's basically brandy infused in butter. Thank you for explaining
no,
that.
it isn't.
That's really
It isn't.
nice. That's what you just said.
No, it isn't. That's what I'm just saying. It isn't
Oh.
that. It's got more. It's got sugar. It's got other things in it.
Oh.
Anyway.
Okay. Anyway.
We'll make it.
No, but what the other thing, I would say the other difference, there's so many other bits. Like you have party poppers, so everybody pops.
Crackers.
Crackers, like
Yeah.
amazing crackers. I love the crackers tradition. I would say the other difference is throughout the Christmas season, you have mulled wine and mince pies everywhere. Whereas in America, all I remember is when we would go to Christmas parties, it would be, and we would have this on Christmas Day and on Christmas Eve, would be the best deviled eggs. My mom makes the best deviled eggs. So we would have deviled eggs everywhere. I loved it, loved it, loved it
Deviled
so
eggs.
much.
I would love some of your mum's deviled eggs. If your mum is watching now, please, deviled eggs.
They're the best.
Next time.
So,
that sounds delicious.
And I just don't know if we really have a traditional Christmas drink in America. I mean, we do have hot cider, but we also have that when I say hot cider, it is not like alcoholic cider.
Yeah, cider in the UK always means alcoholic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would call it apple juice.
That's
I don't
right.
know
So
why you. It's one of the things that really confused me. Because when I arrived in New York, aged about 21, and I wanted to go to the deli and grab a whole quart of cider, I'd come home, have a few glasses, and think, this is going to send me on my merry way.
No.
But nothing happened.
No. We do call it apple cider. Some apple juice is really called apple cider because the way that it's fermented and made.
It's not it's fermented. I think it's that it's sort of thicker and sort of opaque and cloudy, and that's when it becomes.
Yeah.
You call it cider.
We call it cider. So my mom would make delicious apples. So we'd have hot apple cider and deviled eggs. But you have mulled wine and mince pies.
Now, what about
everywhere.
the Christmas tree? Would you decorate it in a similar fashion to this?
Yep, we would. It would just be
In fact, I would say this is an American Christmas tree.
Yep, I would too.
Because there are a few things wrong from a British perspective. I mean, it's a lovely tree, and I've got very used to these. I've got very used to these American elements to it. First of all, we would have one with finer needles. This is a fir, and we want a Norwegian spruce.
Okay.
That would be the first thing. And then
me.
the second thing that I grew up with was lametta on the tree. Do you know what lametta is?
I do, because you've told me.
So lametta are these very fine silver strips.
They're like tinsel.
They're like tinsel, but they're individual strips, and it takes forever. So to decorate a tree with lametta...
You can add that. Did you help with any of this decoration of this tree? So, I mean, feel free to add to it.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great.
But I'm not sure if we have any lametta. I think the tree looks great, by the way. I'm pointing out some differences. The other difference, of course, is that we would always have a star
Well,
on the top of our
I thought I
tree.
had a star, but it was an enormous snowflake. It was the most bizarre ornament.
There is another star as well.
We'll have
you know
to
what?
put
We can make one.
Well, I've saved some ornaments for the children to put
Christmas
on.
is in a few days' time, so we've got a little bit of time to get this right.
So,
but I think missing the star.
But I've put some ornaments off to the side that I made for the children to put on. But here's my special one my mom sent me. When I grew up, I loved Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and I got this when I was probably like 8. My mom got it for me, so it's vintage ornament there.
So you brought that with you?
My mom sent it to me years ago.
Wow. And this one?
It was dedicated to our patrons.
To our patrons.
Yep.
And we had lots of lovely comments.
So I thought this was really lovely. I hope all the patrons who really do help support this part of English heritage love it as much as I do. I just thought it was a really, really pretty one, and also it matches the room. I thought it matched the room. So, and it's one of the first ornaments I think that you see. So I bought this specifically for our patrons.
There is one thing missing also from the tree. Chocolate. We used to have chocolate ornaments, and they would hang, and when you were feeling a little peckish, you would go and pluck one off and eat it.
Yeah.
As the day goes on after lunch, we would then obviously have present opening in the afternoon. We would then have tea with Christmas cake at around about 4 o'clock, even more presents being opened. And by about 5 or 6 o'clock, most people are asleep, unless they're watching the Queen. Of course, the Queen broadcasts at 4 o'clock every Christmas.
Yeah, while you're eating your
Or
Christmas
is it 3
cake.
o'clock? I'm forgetting when the Queen
clearly
comes.
doesn't watch it.
I think it's 3.
3, isn't it?
3?
3 o'clock, yeah. So these days, of course, you can get the Queen on catch-up, so you can watch her at 4 if you want.
By the way,
oh my God, there's a present.
Well, it's for you. Well, this is your Christmas present.
Wow.
Just hold it.
It's not rattling. It's not a smelly cheese.
No, I'm not going to give you a smelly cheese.
It's got pretty refined paper on it. And look at the prints, and look at the bow.
That's Claire.
And the rosemary. That is a very fine present, even if I don't know what it is.
That's right. But if you do want to find out what it is, you can't. But it is on. I did film it for our sister channel, American Viscountess. I went shopping for your present at. I can't say where. I went shopping, and if you watch it, you'll be able to find out what the present is.
Wait a minute.
But you can't watch it.
I mean, I can go on the channel and find out what my present is.
Yeah, I'm
That's
afraid
quite
you
exciting.
can. But I'm going to somehow ban you and block you from American Viscountess for a bit until after it airs. But that's your present.
Anyway, and then after Christmas, of course, we would have Boxing Day. Boxing Day was, do you have Boxing Day in America?
No, we don't have Boxing Day.
So you don't even have Boxing
work.
Day. Well, that's true. We get 2 days off, Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and you would only get Christmas Day, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's because you've already had Thanksgiving. So
maybe.
Why do you need another day? And you've got loads of other holidays as well, from President's Day to Labor Day to Martin Luther King Day.
You've got a lot of bank holidays here.
But anyway, the point about Boxing Day is that is the day traditionally where you would give Christmas boxes to people who came and provided services, in particular the milkman, the postman, and by box that would be a present or a tip or something. And do you know what? I think that's gone out of style. I'm feeling rather bad about it. Maybe we should resuscitate it.
I know.
Because the postman who comes to Mapperton, I often feel pretty sorry for him. He's got a long drive to get down to, and he has to go all the way around the passage, through the back. You know, it's a lot of effort.
Do you give the postman a box?
A box. Well, you're putting me on the spot, and I think this year we're going to have to do something about that.
I think you're going to have
and
to.
And he might even be watching, in which case.
Could be.
Yeah.
We're
conscious of that.
A box.
And then after Boxing Day, well, that's just about it, isn't it?
Well, we've already gone back to work on the 26th,
you're back
unless it's
at work.
a weekend. So
we're being a little lazier.
So I think that's it. Listen, comment down below if there are any traditions.
Christmas jumpers.
Oh, well, I was just asking people to comment down below.
I know, but I was remembering.
No, we would say Christmas sweaters, but I don't. Yeah, I think that's become a relatively new thing over the past kind of 10 years.
It's a very American thing. We didn't do that. We wouldn't do that.
Well, no, I'll tell you what another American thing is Christmas cards. Americans, but I think that trend's catching on here.
I must have
everybody sends
200
But
Christmas
everybody
cards
in America sends photos of their children or their family, or it's always a picture on front. And that was the one thing when we got married 20 years ago that you were like, I don't know if we should do that. And I said, no, that's what we do in America.
Now everybody does it over
Now
there
everybody,
as well.
so it's caught on over here. Welcome to our New Year's resolutions.
Have you got any?
I do have some. I try to have some every year. Not just one, but a few. Do you have any?
Well, I'm thinking very hard about mine. And the truth is, I can't think of any really serious ones. I can think of a few for Julie.
What?
Are you allowed to do that? Can you impose?
You can't resolve for me.
Can I impose some resolutions on you?
No, you can't do that. By the way, is New Year's resolution, I mean, I don't ever remember you really ever doing them. I don't think you ever believed in them.
Well, hang on a second. Before she gets too sanctimonious and makes out that she, of course, follows through on her New Year's resolutions.
I try.
I can't remember a single one where that has applied.
Because I haven't told you of my New Year's resolutions.
Oh, she
Usually,
keeps them to herself.
I write them down.
These are secret New Year resolutions, but this year they're not secret.
Well, no, because we're filming them.
Yeah, but if we're filming them,
we have to.
The amazing thing
That's why I'm excited.
We're going to have to do them.
That's right.
So I'm going to change my list and make them really achievable.
Well, that's what they should be.
I had set myself some really quite complicated and difficult ones.
They should be achievable,
But because
Luke.
I'm going to be held to account by subscribers and patrons, I think I'm going to choose some easy ones. So I've got one to kick off with.
Okay, go ahead and start.
I've been reminded of it in this room as we were sitting here, being a kind of spontaneous New Year's resolution sort of person. My New Year's resolution is to water the houseplants more frequently, because there's a plant over there that is looking really rather sorry for itself.
It's true.
And we do not do a good enough job of watering the houseplants.
No,
I will take that one on. In fact, I'm going to talk to Susie, who helps with this, and see whether between us we can work out a bit of a rota. I won't include you in that rota because that would be me imposing a resolution.
That's right.
Anyway, what's your next resolution?
My next resolution is fixing the 18th century pool once and for all.
What? You're not. You can only do resolutions that you're in full control of.
Yeah, I will be in full control. I will.
Well, there are many other factors that will either result in us fixing that pool or not fixing that pool.
Well, my resolution is to do my cold water immersion therapy for 2 minutes, starting as soon as possible, and that relies on the pool being fixed. So maybe your resolution should be fixing the pool, and my resolution should then be cold water immersion therapy as soon as it gets fixed every single day or almost every day for 2 minutes. See, if you would fix it, I could then do my resolution.
Okay. Well, we are making steps towards that resolution, so I think there's a reasonable chance we'll fix some of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
In 2022.
I've got another New Year's resolution, and this one I think is for Julie.
It can't be, but okay.
Order more cat food. The poor cats in this house.
No, that is not
they
true.
They go starving.
No, they don't, because they kill shrews outside. So they don't. They feast on shrews.
They don't, because we put little bell collars on them to stop them
still
killing the
get them,
wildlife. But we do not order enough cat food.
We do.
There are many occasions when the cats come
We have
in,
an
they're quite
ongoing
hungry,
delivery that
and
comes,
we have
but
to feed them our salmon
because of the
or our
delivery
chicken.
and the problems that we've been having in this country with deliveries and the postal system and all of that that's happened because of COVID and probably Brexit, is the deliveries are slower.
Instead of going into a long list of excuses, let's just make this a shared commitment, a shared resolution. Order more cat food.
It's on a rota that gets anyway.
I'm not talking about excuses. Okay.
Okay.
That's
so here's my next resolution. I brought mine down. I'm really excited. So through my sort of, I don't know, research into Alberta, I have a lot of her old diaries and also her old journals, and they're all made from Smythson. So this year, I am going back. I'm making a resolution to go back to written form of scheduling things. So, and I'm really, really excited about it. So I went to Smythson. This is my Christmas present to myself. I got a similar diary to what Alberta had, and I'm going to not only put in what I will be doing each day here in pen or pencil, but also my to-do list will be here rather than on my phone. And I actually think this is really going to help me because I can just pick it up and look at it rather than having to go into another phone that requires me to get on a screen. And so I'm going back to the old way of doing it.
The old ways.
That's right.
Julie is returning to the old ways.
Alberta is teaching
because
me.
the old ways are some of the best ways. Now,
it's
Julie,
a little bit more there. I want to finish.
But is the resolution, therefore, to be more Alberta because you're going to do more of what she used to do?
In the back, there are a lot of blank pages, and this is where I really want to journal as well.
Should we just give them a little plug? Smythson is a fantastic company, a traditional English company.
They're not sponsoring this in any way.
They're not sponsoring us, and they make these absolutely wonderful diaries and are a very traditional English brand.
So this one has a week to view. It's got to-do lists, and then it has endnotes. It has a little pocket here for putting things, so I can journal, put in my schedule and my to-do list all in one. So this is a big resolution for me.
And the great thing about that resolution is, again, we will be able to check out the end of the year.
That's right.
We can leaf through.
I know, I'm excited.
And see how many pages you've
rather
filled
than going through a digital device.
Yeah, which is what I do. I've always been more digital than you, haven't I?
You have.
Do you think I should have a resolution about being less digital? What would that mean?
I mean,
it would mean less YouTube, of course.
I went on my phone a few years ago to do everything digitally, and now I'm going to go back to this. Yeah. I think it's a real art. It's a real, you're archiving that way. It's much easier. Anyway, so that's my big resolution.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got one, but again, it's one for Julie.
Well, this makes no sense to me. Should I start coming up with ones for Luke?
You can if you want.
No, but that's not the point of it.
Here's the one for Julie. Create less piles.
Piles. I knew you were going to say that.
Now, Julie is a wonderful person, as you all know. She has an infinite number of qualities. But with those qualities come certain quirks. And one of her quirks is to kind of gather stuff.
You're sharing this with the world right now.
I know.
This is very personal.
It's not that personal. Gather stuff and put it all in one area, and then put more stuff on top of it, and then more stuff on top of that, until you've quite literally got a pile of stuff. And we have these piles around the house in different places. And the thing about them is they last forever. They're like the pyramids of Giza. They are there indefinitely.
No. He would miss it. He would miss it. You say that he knows when I'm in a room, it's like a tornado walking in because
Julie
there's piles everywhere.
Julie has a fabulous friend in Italy called Annette, who is helping her with this. Because she is the world's most meticulous and tidy person, and has given Julie instruction on how to reduce her piles. So I mean, it's a fair one.
Annette Joseph is amazing. Check her out, and I'll be filming with Annette more in Italy. She was on one of my videos, or a couple of my videos. We love Annette, but you love Annette.
So Julie's got a resolution to be more Alberta, and I suggest
be more. Okay, I'll take that.
Be more Annette.
Okay, I'll take both of the
that
A's.
okay?
That is actually. I do.
Okay.
I do want to
I know it's something
emulate
you're aspiring
Annette.
to.
I am
place-
aspiring
it's
to
a place you want
Annette,
to get to.
Yeah, to those two people. Yeah, that
Annette's
is okay.
place. Okay.
That's
Do you
going to be
wanna-
difficult, though.
But now I'm a little bit worried because
Wow,
she
that's
might
gonna
have.
be hard.
You might have something in return for me.
No, you're perfect, just the way
just the way
you
I
are. I'm not going to do this on camera.
Oh, no?
I'll do
Okay.
it later.
All
no,
right.
just kidding. So I think those are our big...
Those are some good ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, there are some Mapperton resolutions as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we could set those for Mapperton.
Well, we do have some objectives for Mapperton. We've got some quite big things that we want to do here. We've got the Coltley Development Project, which is a big project.
I think you're going to be doing another video
We're doing
on
a video
this,
on
aren't
that. And then we've also got all of the new guided tours and walks linked to Mapperton Wildlands, which is the Rewilding project. So we've got to launch that. So there's a whole hope, but those are really Mapperton resolutions.
Yeah, I think we're going to be. I think you're going to be doing
personal
another
ones,
video on what we're doing at Mapperton.
I have got one more for me.
Oh, okay,
which
good.
is that-
I thought it was for me again.
Which is that I wear too many hats. So I am going to take off a couple of hats this year. I haven't decided which ones.
We better decide soon.
But it's true. But I keep
Year's
saying
resolution starting
saying
New Year's
yes
Day.
to putting on a new. By putting on a new hat, I mean taking on a new responsibility. And I think I've got to just do better with what we have rather than take on more stuff. If that makes sense. Does that make sense to you?
That does make
For me?
sense to me. I think you've got to be careful making too many resolutions. That's why I only made just a few. Yeah. Less piles. Obviously, you made that one for me, but I actually quite like that. More journaling and writing in my diary and calendar. And then, of course, I would like to do my cold water. You know, I really would. That is a big one for me.
Well, okay. And also, once the summer comes along, I'm quite happy to join Julie in her cold water immersion therapy because by that stage, it won't be so cold.
Yeah.
So I can make that resolution as well.
Okay, let's see if that one comes true. I mean, that will be unbelievable if he actually does the cold water immersion therapy. That is a resolution I'm setting for you. Soon as the pool...
But I said I'd do it in the summer.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. Can I set the resolution that you will do
No,
it once with me in the winter?
Absolutely not.
Once with
not
me.
Not a chance. That's madness.
Oh my gosh, that is... Can I say the word wimp? That is real... You're wimping out.
Let's end on a high. We want to say thank you again to all of our subscribers. Thank you particularly to our patrons. If you'd like to support this important part of England's heritage, please do consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Mapperton Live. This is a slightly challenging episode because I don't know what's going to happen.
That's right.
Julie just said, why don't we do an episode where we sit down in front of the fire and you know nothing and I'm just going to ask you questions.
Yeah. So I'm going to interview Luke because actually there are things I want to know.
So this is a little nerve-wracking.
No, and I think you'll all want to know as well. But sometimes with Luke, you're so busy that actually when we do these Mapperton Live extras, I actually learn quite a lot of what's going on. And it's only when we're filming the episodes, I'm like, really?
It's true.
That's happening. It's so true.
We do have the same lives in many respects, but they're also sometimes quite separate. And the same way that Julie learns about me from these episodes, I learn about her from social media. I didn't know she was going off to Kenya. No. I didn't know she was in Italy. I look on my phone, I look over in the house, she's not there. Oh, she's sitting next to a lion. Oh, she's in a fantastic cheese shop. Oh, so, you know.
That is such an exaggeration.
Only a little bit, though.
No,
only a
big.
little bit.
Anyway, this is about you now.
Wait. So, if I don't want to answer the questions, what do I do?
No, you're going to want to answer them because I'm going to narrow it into questions around running an estate in the 21st century and kind of the changes that you've seen from when you were younger and when you didn't have the responsibility and to now that you do have the responsibility. And I know we have it together, but technically this is your family home. This is your family history. I add a little bit of something, but...
This is feeling like an episode of American Viscountess, your other channel. That's where you go and meet people with historic houses and estates, and you ask them questions in interviews.
That's right. That's why before this I said, I know what I'm doing.
Should we jump over to the other channel?
No.
Okay, we'll do it here.
I know what I'm doing, so I know what questions to ask. And luckily, I've been able to go around to other extraordinary historic houses and meet with all of the owners and ask them questions.
Now you can see that I'm stalling because I'm slightly nervous about what she's going to say. But in the meantime, there's a really important thing that we haven't said, which is 50% of people watching this episode have not subscribed to our channel. Did you know it was that high?
Yes, I did.
It's unbelievably high number.
I watched YouTube.
So why wouldn't you press that subscribe button?
Subscribe, but also turn notifications on, because then you'll somewhere around. But turn notifications on, because then you're the first to know when this video premieres or when the next video premieres. We're always premiering videos, and of course then they stay on the channel. But it's nice when a video does premiere. We're there chatting with everybody during the premiere.
We
it's
are
fun.
wherever
There's a huge community
we are
now. Wherever we are.
Quite often we're out.
Kenya,
and
Lion
Kenya,
in the background.
Italy. I'm sort of at home reading the paper and twiddling on my phone, answering questions, which is a delight. Let's get on to your first question.
Let's get to the interview. So, I think for me, first and foremost,
how many questions are there going to be?
There's going to be 5. So there's going to be 5 questions. Okay. So try not to make them too long-winded, because we know Luke can kind of.
Is this?
Don't worry, because I'm the presenter, the host of this. I'll be able to rein him in, shut him down when I want to go on to that next point.
Okay.
So I think first and foremost, the question that I have for you is, you obviously grew up knowing that one day you would be taking over Mapperton Estate. But during that period, when you were at school and you went off to university, was it in the back of your head thinking, one day I'm going to have to take this over and I'm going to have to run it, and these are the things I want to do? How did it feel growing up knowing that one day you would be, in charge?
Yeah, that is a really interesting, loaded, multifaceted, complicated question. And I think it's an important one. The truth is that growing up, you do become aware of these things, probably aged around about 10, 11, 12. And that was the point, I think, when I saw my parents starting to take on responsibility, and I saw how it was impacting their careers, and they were needing to do more down here as my grandfather was slowly needing to hand things over. So I would say that it absolutely affects one's sense of one's future. And for me, if I'm completely honest, I'd always had a sense that Mapperton was a struggling estate, that it was very hard to make the estate support itself, sustain itself, because incomes had dropped and dropped and dropped through all the traditional sources, in particular agriculture, and that it was going to be really hard going. And so I felt a kind of obligation to try and go out in the world and do my own thing before taking on Mapperton. And so I also had a sense of there being a kind of first part to my life which wasn't Mapperton, and then there would be a part of my life that was dominated by Mapperton. I think we're in the dominated part now, aren't we?
Yes.
But that first part, it meant I wanted to kind of pack in things that I knew I wouldn't be able to do. And so I was interested in doing things that interested me, the businesses that I was involved in, the film school that I ran. And so I tried to pack a lot in before the responsibility came my way.
Yes.
I don't know whether, does that answer? But I think the really interesting is how I felt. And I think I felt a bit daunted. And I think I felt as though I knew it was going to be difficult.
So you weren't looking forward to it, would you say? I mean, to be in all honesty.
I don't think I was particularly looking forward to it. I knew that it was an immense privilege and how lucky I was to have such a wonderful place to live. But I don't think I was looking forward to it in that sense, that there was a kind of golden moment when I was going to take over Mapperton.
Right.
Because I knew it was going to be incredibly hard work.
Yeah.
And guess what?
It's
incredibly hard work.
It is. I mean, I think it's harder than probably you and I ever imagined. I know for me, definitely, as the American marrying into the family, I've personally, and of course it's naive of me to think this, but it's, I didn't grow up here. And so you have these in your imagination and what you see on TV, this story being told that it's all blissful and perfect and your hair looks perfect all the time.
But I think what we need to do here is sort of roll the clock back, because there certainly was a golden era of living in country houses, a sort of Edwardian period when quite a lot of families lived pretty luxurious lifestyles with lots of staff, and the heads of the families, the heirs, often didn't have to worry too much about making ends meet, because there was quite a lot of income coming in from all of the different parts of the estate. And I think one of the things I was also very conscious of was that we had lost our family home and estate in Cambridgeshire. That my grandfather had been forced to sell that after the war because things were so difficult. And therefore I had a sense that had happened before, and we really didn't want that to happen anymore. We didn't want to lose any more than we'd already lost, because Mapperton is much, much smaller, and we've lost lots of furniture and pictures, and the amount of land here is very, very considerably less. And so there's this sense of really trying to hold on to what's left, which is part of why we do this.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. No, it's so that was one question.
Okay, that was quite long-winded, wasn't it?
No, it was really brilliant.
Did you learn anything?
Yeah, I did. It's okay for me to feel, this is, walking in here sometimes and seeing the leaks and
we
just
can
saying,
get
good grief.
We can get a bit overwhelmed. Is
exactly.
The truth. Yeah.
So,
and it's also true that we live here in a way that is quite different to how these places would have been lived in 100, 200 years ago. Even Mrs. Labouchere in the 20th century, first half of the 20th century, she lived here and she had responsibilities, but I imagine that quite a lot of her time was spent doing things that were actually...
Mrs. Labouchere was Luke's grandfather after he sold Hinchingbrooke. He bought Mapperton.
So the previous owner to our family.
Yeah.
I imagine she had quite a lot of time to do things that interested her. And actually the truth is that while Julie and I are here, 95% of the time we are working on one thing or another.
We are.
There are some fun bits too.
Of course there are. I'll get onto that in a second. So second question is, so all of a sudden you've taken over, your parents have transitioned and handed over the management of the estate. Did you have an idea as to, and this is pre-pandemic, so because there's going to be two questions here. Pre-pandemic, did you have an idea as in any stretch of the imagination that you wanted Mapperton to stand out, or you wanted to make it different, or did you feel like you're just going to do what was necessary for now to get your head around it in order just to keep it going as is? Or did you have a great vision?
That's another really good question. And I think it's a bit of both. But one thing about me is that I've always in my career been involved in growing things. So I'm not really interested in things that stand still, which probably means I take on a bit more risk because I want things to evolve. I want to invest and start new things. But I think in Mapperton's case, it's been absolutely essential. I mean, the moment these houses and these estates stand still, they're essentially sinking. And I think that I was always aware that we needed to kind of innovate and come up with creative ways of standing out and doing things differently. So when I first came here, I realized that actually there was one area where we just weren't very strong, and yet we had massive potential, and that was weddings. And weddings have been a real help, a real bonus for lots and lots of country houses, because the income can be quite substantial and really, really can help support these places. And that will continue. But weddings are becoming more competitive. You're now allowed to get married not just in licensed places, but anywhere in the countryside, or at least that's coming along.
That's
and that means that we can't just think about traditional sources of income like weddings. Agricultural income for us is very, very limited. Residential income from the properties, there's so much investment in these houses that's required that again, it's not that much. So we did have to come up with some big new ideas. I'm not going to go into those big new ideas, but that's also more fun.
It is definitely more fun. So we arrive, 5-6 years ago, and we start to sort of run the place. But our kids were younger then, and so I was mostly in London, and you were coming back and forth up and down to London. And then fast forward, and we were doing, we were trying to grow the wedding business. You put in a new road so that people wouldn't go down the main drive. We obviously, if you've watched the video of our restoration story in 20 minutes. So there were improvements, and with the help of grants, we were able to, of course, restore the coach house, which became our event space and cafe. But then all of a sudden, so we were taking along doing these things and growing where we could traditionally. And when I say traditionally, having the cafe, having the shop, having an event space, doing weddings. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit. And I think for you and I, that was quite a shock. So my question to you is, when the pandemic hit and we were here and we had no visitor income, all weddings were canceled, what was going through your head during that period of, this unknown period where no income is coming into the house and gardens?
I was quite miserable. I thought we were going to be in serious trouble because we have this team of staff that rely upon the income that we were getting from visitors and weddings, and yet we had no visitors and we had no weddings. And so we were facing this really terrible period of thinking that we might have to make staff redundant because we wouldn't be able to afford to pay their salaries. Luckily, we didn't have to do that for the most part because the government stepped in and supported people's salaries in this country through something called the furlough scheme. Mm-hmm. So that meant that we were able to keep going. And but it was a really worrying time. But I think what often happens when you have these big shocks is that it forces you into a position of thinking differently. Mm-hmm. And I think we have thought differently, but maybe I'm not allowed to go there.
No, so that leads me on to my next question. And so obviously we're here, we're talking on camera. We've got Stephen and Claire there. We're this is going to be premiered and it will stay on our YouTube channel. During the pandemic, we started to do live tours every Tuesday at 4:00 UK time with myself, my father and mother-in-law, and Luke was doing the camera, and we would have a child usually doing the sound. And every Tuesday throughout, in particular that first lockdown, up until July, so basically from April, I think we started until July, we would go live and we would ask people to support in any way a certain project, whether it was the repointing of the church tower, and the donations were incredible because, in order to maintain this part of England's heritage,
people were incredibly generous.
Incredibly generous.
And the wonderful thing about those videos is they're still there. In fact, there's probably an old tour playlist on our channel.
Oh my gosh,
that
we
you
should
can go
do
to.
that. Yeah,
and they're pretty cool.
So, do you think that having that became really successful, and everybody from around the world really enjoyed it? Whatever their time zone was, they would get a cup of tea and do it. And I think for you and I, we realized that this was working. I know that was the inspiration for what we're doing now. But did you ever imagine that YouTube was and Patreon was the way forward? And what were your thoughts around moving a historic house that traditionally probably shied away a little bit from social media? We do traditional.
I don't like social media.
Yeah, but
she's the social media girl.
You really started to embrace it.
I did. Well, I did. We embraced the video.
Yeah.
You can't say that I've embraced social media. Don't bother trying to find my social media channels.
No. But I'm talking about Mapperton. No, but I'm on Mapperton Estate's social media. Side. We have a small historic house. We have quite a big social media following.
Yeah. So Mapperton social media, absolutely, and that's largely thanks to you, but also thanks to Charlotte, who works in the team on the marketing side.
Yeah.
So I suppose that at that stage, we had learned something really important from the pandemic, which was that if we went out onto YouTube and we gave these tours, there were people who were actually quite interested. Mm-hmm. And we hadn't really thought about that before.
No.
But I have to say, just to my own surprise, we've ended up in a place that I had been thinking about for some time, which is that I was always conscious, and part of my background was in film and television, that a place like Mapperton has lots of stories to tell. Why does it have lots of stories to tell? Because it's got interesting people and it's got interesting historical elements. And so from a filmmaking standpoint, there's also always beautiful things to look at. There's objects and pictures that have stories, and there are people who weave their lives around these things. And so I'd had in my mind, probably for quite a while, I probably never talked to you about it, this idea that there was something called...
I told you I learned something new on these
called
videos.
Mapperton TV. And I thought of Julie learning to grow vegetables in the garden, and that would be something. And I thought that, you know, I could be out, you know, meeting with farmers and tenants and talking about livestock, something I knew not very much about. And we could talk about renewable energy and all of... So I suppose there had been something lurking.
Right.
And then we had the success with the live tours through YouTube during lockdown, and we realized actually maybe there was a larger community of people who would be interested in our stories. I think if we jump 50 years from now, things are going to have taken an even more extraordinary turn. And this is where I think with all of our experience from Mapperton Live, we're in quite a good position. So here we go. Here's my big idea. Meta Mapperton. What do you think?
That's the name of Facebook.
Meta Mapperton. Stephen gets it. Stephen gets it.
What?
You can see he's behind the camera.
Meta Mapperton.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that Mapperton enters the metaverse. Yeah.
I don't even know what the metaverse is.
She doesn't know what the metaverse is. Everyone,
well, I do.
And so we could have virtual visitors sitting where Stephen and Claire are now today. Okay. And we could have other ones over there. Well, they beam it. Well, we're all wearing wonderful VR and we're all looking at each other and we're in a Mapperton environment, but it's a sort of
I don't like it.
virtual.
Stephen's saying no. Okay, I'm going to move on to my last question.
And I think...
See, I told you, I knew there was going to be a point that he was going to kind of go off piste.
Is the future.
Right.
I'm sure Stephen secretly agrees with me.
So, we're going to go on to question number 5, the last question. Lucky for you, lucky for me.
I'll bring it back to that.
So here we are, last question. So we've now moved past the pandemic, hopefully, and we've established our YouTube channel, Mapperton Live. We've established an amazing platform, Patreon, where our patrons help to support us in the repairs and restorations here, in particular the 18th century, no, it's the 17th century pool now, we think, and the repair of the 17th century pool. So our patrons really do help in certain projects that we have here at Mapperton. They're always ongoing. I mean, one day I will get those tapestries done, but there's some projects above that. So I do want to say thank you to our patrons. Never in a million years would we've ever sort of imagined that we would be able to do something like this, and so that everybody can enjoy and feel that they have a part of Mapperton.
Well, and they really do, because the lovely thing about our Patreon community, and please consider joining, it's patreon.com/Mapperton. We can probably put a little QR...
Mapperton Live, /Mapperton Live.
Oh, you're quite right. I got that wrong, didn't I? /Mapperton Live. But if you don't want to type, you can probably QR code it in the corner. And the lovely thing about that is we've got a wonderful community of people, and we interact with them. We post things, we answer questions. Some of our community are even getting to know each other outside of Mapperton Live.
Brilliant.
And arranging to talk and possibly even meet in person. Yeah. I think that's brilliant.
It is brilliant. Here we are, 2022, and we're busier than ever.
Yeah.
And you've really moved on to sort of the traditional historic house projects, if you like, in developing the estate. But what are you the most excited about in the near future? You know, I'm giving yourself 2 to 3 years here. Where do you see Mapperton evolving in a particular area?
So there are 2 really interesting Mapperton worlds at the moment. Not quite the meta Mapperton that I was talking about.
Thank goodness.
But we've got the digital Mapperton world, which is this world of YouTube and Patreon. Mm-hmm. And I can't pretend that I don't find this exciting, because I really do. It combines so many things that interest me: telling stories, building a community, filmmaking, hanging out with you.
That's
what
nice.
could be better? So that's the sort of digital side. So that really gets me up in the morning thinking about that. The other one, of course, is what's happening beyond the house itself with Mapperton Wildlands. MappertonWildlands.com, if you haven't been to the website,
oh, yes.
please go.
Oh my gosh, it's just launched. That's so exciting.
And Mapperton Wildlands, as people who've been watching the channel will know, is our Rewilding project. And that's really just taking off and blossoming at the moment. And I think what's so interesting about that is that it no, because I'm mid-sentence. You can't quite shut me down yet. What's so interesting about that is it represents the next stage of the evolution of the country house and estate, which is that we've brought visitors into the centre, into these houses. But I was having a fascinating conversation with Tim Connor, who's a local historian today, and he who
wrote the book,
the Mapperton book, which you should also get if you haven't already. He was saying that he thinks that the traditional visit to a country house, where you go and walk around, you have a guided tour, and you have a cream tea, he thinks that's a very 20th century idea, and of course it's probably going to continue. People are going to enjoy that for many years to come. But he thinks that actually part of what's going to be happening over this next period is people's access to the countryside. Because that access hasn't been available because a lot of this land has been farmed and it hasn't been appreciated for all the wonderful things that it does for wildlife and biodiversity and carbon sequestration and water quality and air quality. But most importantly, human connection with nature. People are increasingly wanting and valuing that connection. Yes. And we are providing a way for that to happen. So we're just at the start of that, and it would be really interesting in 10, 15 years to look back and see what that's meant to people and how it's also helped us, because it generates income to support all those leaks, those roofs,
that's right,
those repairs.
Well, I think it's, honestly, it's wonderful just to see how Mapperton has really, really evolved from when I first came here 20 years ago. And then, of course, when we started running it.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Because Julie's just wrapping up at the moment. This is like a sort of outro. But
what's wrong
before
with that?
She does that, I think we need to give her some credit. Because a lot of these changes just wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for you. Not only is she a superstar in front of the camera with her own previous series on historic houses, but you're just full of energy. People get so excited when they know Julie's coming down, because I don't know, you just sort of lift people's spirits. Where I'm a bit doom and gloom.
No, you're not.
But
thank you.
But I think and you've got to think about the other things that we've done here. So, for example, yoga retreats.
Yes.
I mean, we've converted lots of bedrooms and bathrooms in this house. We'd never have done that if it wasn't for the income that we get from yoga retreats. So those are supporting as well.
And it's really nice to be able to bring yoga here. It's my passion, and yoga in the historic house you never really saw before. I do feel that I was one of the first. I think I might be the only sort of yogi with a title that lives in a historic house.
We did come across one or two others. We won't say who they are. They're not as good as she is, and they can't do that funny thing where she stands on her hands.
It's called a handstand.
But when your legs then sort of twist backwards over your ears.
Oh yeah, crazy
and you end
stuff.
up in a sort of strange. Stephen can probably show a picture of that, because why not? We can show it off. Anyway, I think we're probably at the wrapping up stage.
We are the wrapping up.
And I'll pat you on the back, and you've patted me on the back.
Yeah, that was nice.
And here's to the next 25 years
Here's to the next
Mapperton.
25 years
20?
Of Mapperton.
15.
And I think we should do a video like this
in 25 years. We'll come in on our Zimmer frames.
Every year. Yeah. Okay. Today's video is about Easter differences. Now, we did one over Christmas. We got so many comments because, and it was really interesting to read, because so many of you had different traditions, whether you were in Britain or you were in America, and it was actually really fun to read all of them.
So today we're in the Easter spirit, because we are in the run-up to Easter. It is early April, and I thought we could do this by you describing your Easter day. What was it like? How did it begin? And what did you do?
So Easter day, for when I was growing up, was obviously on a Sunday, and we would go to church, and you would, you know, weeks before that, you would pick out and your Easter dress. Usually for us, it was a new dress. We would have a new Easter dress. Like, it was a big deal. So every year, I remember growing up having my new special Easter dress. And that was really, really important. It wasn't like I would just go into my closet.
So let me just interrupt you for a second. The week before, the Sunday and the week before, Palm Sunday,
Yes.
did you get given a little reed cross? Because that was actually quite an exciting thing as a child that we got in the UK.
At church?
At
or your
church,
parents?
to take away.
No.
No?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But you would go to church for Palm Sunday?
Yes, every Sunday. Every Sunday growing up, I went to church.
No, I see. Yes. So you didn't go to Palm Sunday every Sunday, but you went to church every Sunday. And because Palm Sunday is a Sunday, you went to every Palm Sunday.
But growing up, I went to church every Sunday.
I think I got that right.
Every Sunday I went to church. Okay. And of course, Easter was super important. So I just remember, it was exciting because we would get brand new Easter dresses. And then, of course, there was the Easter Bunny. So for us...
Easter Bunny?
Yeah,
What's that?
The Easter Bunny would arrive...
Easter Bunny?
And see?
We don't have an Easter Bunny.
So we would wake up in the morning...
Yeah.
And we would have an Easter basket...
More presents.
Filled with, in my family, it was filled with Easter candies. So you'd have lots of Easter candy, Easter eggs, as in Easter candy eggs. You would have these marshmallow, like in the shape of Easter, of bunny faces. So you have marshmallows in the shape of like bunny faces, and chicks. Do you remember, does everybody remember? What were they called? Comment down below. But it was like marshmallow was really popular. And then of course Easter eggs, but we would make proper like hard-boiled eggs and decorate them. And this is a big difference, we would have an Easter egg hunt, but they would be with, listen carefully, hard-boiled eggs, the ones that we really, really decorate. You would hide those as well, but also you would hide these plastic sort of Easter eggs that they didn't really have, I just remember mine had like little plastic toys inside of them. Yes, so...
Sounds a bit kitsch to me.
Please help support this important part of England's heritage by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Mapperton Live.
No, because when I moved here and we would do Easter egg hunts, it was like all these foiled chocolate Easter eggs.
Yeah, of course.
We didn't have that.
Of course.
No.
So
we had hard-boiled eggs.
Just reversing back to the beginning of our Easter day. So we would wake up in the morning and we would have breakfast. And guess what we would get for breakfast? We would get a hard-boiled egg. And the hard-boiled egg would have been dipped in a dye so that it was coloured.
Same
we might
with ours.
have a red one, we might have a yellow one, or a blue one.
That's what I was talking about, decorating them.
But in addition to that, we would previously at school have blown out the eggs.
We did not do that.
Do you not know about blowing out eggs?
No, I didn't know about it until... It's a real European thing.
Is it? Yeah, so what you do, you make a hole at each end of the egg, and then you blow through it, and all of the eggy gunk comes out, and then you have an egg that you can paint. So these are the painted eggs. They're different from the boiled eggs that we would have for breakfast, but then at the breakfast table would be the most exciting thing of all. Enormous chocolate Easter eggs. And
yeah, it's a real British thing, that.
And as a young child, seeing these huge eggs, and normally not just one, sometimes two, sometimes three, grandparents, parents,
it's a big thing over here.
Aunts and uncles might have given one, and this would be your hoard for the year. I mean, I used to have chocolate from my Easter egg that continued all the way through the year to Christmas. I'd still be plucking bits of chocolate off the egg.
No, chocolate's such a big thing over here. No, so we would wake up and we would have, the Easter basket would have this, oh gosh, remind me everybody what it's called down below, but it's like this, it obviously looks like a nest.
We would also make nests, and we made nests out of shredded wheat. You would take apart the shredded wheat because it was kind of nesty. Okay. You'd pour some chocolate into it. And then you'd mold it into a nest and you put the little eggs in as well.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Did you do that? Is that another weird thing?
Yeah, no. So we would have a lovely Easter basket with I'm sure it's made out of plastic, sort of green, pink.
It sounds like there was a
yellow.
lot of plastic in your Easter.
Afraid there was. But you would also get, so we would have these marshmallow, you could get like Reese's peanut butter cups, and they would be sort of Easter orientated. And
there's always a brand in there, isn't there?
And then
some American brand is muscled into Easter.
And then you would get, I remember always getting a stuffed animal. I was really into stuffed animals, but you would get
probably a
toy.
rabbit.
A toy.
You get a toy as well. Yeah, I knew there'd be a toy.
Yeah, you get a toy. You get a present.
Yeah,
you definitely get a present.
It's always just bigger in America, isn't it? There's always just a bit more. Whereas we might have got like a little kind of, I don't know, fluffy animal. You would have some enormous rabbit. Is that true?
Wait, what?
Okay, she doesn't know what I'm saying.
So,
moving on.
So
to the later part of the day, after you've been to church, because we'd all go to church, come back from church, and then the next exciting thing in the day for us Brits was the Easter egg hunt.
Well, like I said,
did you have Easter egg hunt?
I said we had an Easter egg hunt, but now you guys use like all those foiled chocolates everywhere.
Oh, no.
We had hard-boiled eggs that we had decorated.
Who would want to go round the garden and find cold, hard-boiled eggs? So let me tell you about the Mapperton Easter egg hunt. Mm-hmm. No plastic. It was a plastic-free Easter egg hunt. And
I'm sure that the foil covering the chocolate would have plastic in it.
In the garden here, no, because it was foil, metal. In the garden here, there were so many nooks and crannies to hide eggs. And we would all be given a bag and we would be sent off. And there would be tons of cousins running around. And yes, you'd have the little eggs as well, but you'd also have a few prize bigger eggs. And do you know what they were?
More chocolate.
Stephen and Claire will know. Terry's chocolate orange. That was the prize egg. If you found that in your Easter egg hunt, you just came away with a big smile on your face.
Right.
And another bag.
No, we don't do, so we would take the baskets that we got in the morning that was filled with our candy and stuffed animal or toy or whatever. And we would then take that basket with us and go on the Easter egg hunts, because all the eggs we got were like egg-sized eggs, the hard-boiled ones, and you'd put them in there. You wouldn't put them in a plastic bag, so you were...
Did you make like egg salad sandwiches afterwards?
Of course.
On Easter, you had egg salad sandwiches?
No, we didn't have that for our Easter
Well, did you do it the
lunch.
next day, so it was even older?
No, but we... Oh my goodness.
I just feel sorry for American children being force-fed cold, hard,
delicious
boiled eggs.
Oh my gosh, so good. Anyway, but we also got toys.
What do we do for our kids? I think we mix it up, don't we? It's been a bit of both.
We would have, we do, it is a mix.
But I do
of both.
remember the Easter Bunny making an appearance and being very surprised because he did look like he'd gate crashed Easter.
So the
we don't have Easter Bunny in the UK.
The Easter Bunny.
Well, we may do now because we've imported most American things.
So, by the way, can I just throw this in there? So, of course, we would arrive and we would have our Easter basket, which was filled with candies and with a stuffed animal. But the Easter Bunny then had hidden most of the hard-boiled eggs and the plastic ones with toys around the house. So when we woke up in the next morning, the Easter Bunny was the one who hid them, not our parents. So the Easter Bunny
had scary. I mean, you would at least expect it to be an Easter chicken laying the eggs. But in America, it's a bunny.
It's a bunny.
Look at that. It's weird, isn't it? Look at all these amazing differences that we have.
Who hid all the eggs?
Anyway, either way, it sounds pretty fun.
The Easter Bunny hid the eggs.
The Easter Bunny hid the eggs.
Hi everybody, welcome back to our YouTube channel, and today we are going to be talking all about our 5 favorite British Christmas traditions and the ones that I've really had to adapt to, seeing that I'm American. Is that right?
You are definitely American. That is correct.
After 20 plus years here, I still have my very American accent. So the
question is how we spell favorite.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I spell favorite Favorite. How do you spell favorite?
Well, obviously I stick a U in it because that's the correct way to spell favorite, at least if you're over here and if you're a limey like me. Did you know that when I was in America, living in America, I would be called a limey all the time? I never really understood that.
I don't even know what that is. I've never heard of that before.
She doesn't know that.
Comment down below if you know how do you spell limey?
Limey, Limey.
Okay, well comment down below.
That was the affectionate term given to Brits.
Okay. Does it still exist?
So,
Not sure. Anyway.
Julie, what are you going to pick as your first favourite British Christmas tradition?
That's right. So when I first married into this family, one of the things I had to get my head around is this tradition here called swags, making swags. I had no idea what they were, but now that's why I've put them as number one, because they're probably my favorite thing to do and to create in order to decorate the house, are making these amazing swags. And we really just go onto the estate, we forage all of the foliage, and we create these swags, and they go over the door frame, if you like, around the house. And they're very festive. They've got holly in them, lots of green foliage, pieces of dried orange, acorns, pine cones, and they're fun to make.
They do look amazing once they're up, but the truth is they leave behind them a trail of ecological destruction, because if you go into the kitchen after Julie has been making swags, well, you can't go into the kitchen because there is no room. There are leaves, there are branches, there are twigs, there's holly. It's all absolutely everywhere.
And it's brilliant.
And guess who gets to clear it up?
Me.
No. No,
I clear it up.
I think it's usually me.
No.
So I don't know whether swags are top of my list for that reason. I like looking at them, but the aftermath of swag making, I think we can improve.
Well, no, we'll have to debate that one. All right,
Okay.
what's your, I mean, listen, I've had to adapt all of these, but number two.
Well, number two for me has to do with food, of course. And I think it's our wonderful tradition of making mince pies and, of course, what we call plum pudding. There's something really interesting about plum pudding. Hasn't got plums in it.
I know.
Yeah.
I did figure that out.
Both mince pies and plum pudding, though, often have suet.
Yes.
Which makes them not terribly suitable for vegetarians like you.
That's right.
Which means that this is not the top of Julie's list of great British traditions.
It's not.
But that's okay.
It's
you
all right.
have swags, I've got plum pudding.
Exact plum pudding and mince pies. But do you like mince pies?
I do like mince pies.
Right.
Yeah, especially when the pastry is kind of crispy and they're warm in the centre. Absolutely delicious. And then, of course, with the plum pudding or the Christmas pudding, my favourite bit, which is often also an ecological disaster, is lighting the holly on the top, because the flame has to get going over the whole pudding, and you're supposed to serve it while you've still got flame burning around the pudding, and the holly is on fire, and everything's on fire, and the room is catching fire.
And there's pound coins stuffed
and there's
into...
little bits of silver, which the kids are all desperately trying to dig out. Yeah, and then there's brandy butter. Of course, you mustn't forget brandy butter, because that is the most delicious thing. I can see even Chris behind the camera is smiling at the mention of brandy butter, because he knows he's got that coming up.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of mince pies, Christmas pudding, or brandy butter, but but that's okay. I just have never been a fan of it. Comment down below what your favorite sort of Christmas puddings, desserts are over the holiday period. Comment down below. But this is what I've had to adapt to, and I fully have embraced it, immersed myself into it, and I will, just for the Christmas tradition and spirit, I will have a bite of a mince pie, or maybe even one whole mince pie, the vegetarian version, and I will have a bite of my Christmas pudding. Just because.
What's your next top Christmas tradition?
I think next top Christmas tradition that I absolutely love, everybody, are Christmas crackers. And this is one of the things that I know some people in America also have really sort of adapted that as well. I think it's as an American, it's one of the British Christmas traditions that we love. They're so much fun. You decorate them on Christmas Day. Everybody at the table has one at their place setting, and it's so fun because obviously they crack, they make a pop, but inside is, some type of prize or toy. But the best thing is the crown and the joke. So we all put crowns on our head.
Well, crowns or paper hats?
Paper hats, sorry, but they're in the shape of crowns.
They are in the shape of crowns.
Yeah, paper hats in the shape of crowns.
Paper crowns. Even.
Paper crowns. And then there's the really bad jokes.
The jokes are the best bit, because even if you're having a slightly sorrowful Christmas and you're sitting in the corner looking at everybody else having a wonderful time, you can rally yourself around a good Christmas joke from a cracker. And they're pretty dry, they're pretty corny, and I've got quite a good one.
They're pretty terrible.
I've got a good example of one you probably haven't heard.
Okay, tell me, try me.
Why has Father Christmas been banned from sooty chimneys?
Why has Father Christmas, I'll say Santa Claus, been banned from sooty chimneys?
This is one for today's times.
I don't know.
Because of his carbon footprints.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
There you go. It's a good one. It's not bad, is it, that one?
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Usually, that's not bad. It's not bad. But they always get repeated as well. It's true.
They do.
They do. So we do know them.
They come up every year. Some of the good ones.
They do come up. So Christmas crackers, I wish that, I know, again, comment down below if you do Christmas crackers. It's one of the things that I wish that I had sort of growing up, but how could I? I grew up in America and we didn't have
And you don't just have the crackers, we also have poppers, what we call party poppers, which are little fireworks that send streams of ribbon that go up and they go over the chandelier and they cover everybody and they make an enormous bang and people kind of jump because they're not expecting them.
Yeah, we do poppers. We still find string or paper
through the year
on the chandelier in the dining room for sure. Okay, number 4 is you, because I've just done crackers.
You've just done crackers. I think that one of the great British traditions around Christmas is going to listen, or was going to listen to the Queen give her speech at 3 o'clock every Christmas Day. And it's something that obviously she did throughout her reign. And it was a moment of the country coming together and listening to the Queen reflect on the previous year. I understand, however, that there was one year in which she didn't give a Christmas speech. And also, in the very early years, and I think it was her father, they had to give it live.
Yes.
And so they had a miserable Christmas Day because they'd be thinking, oh my God, I've got to give this speech at 3 o'clock and can't eat any food because I'm so nervous. And
I don't think the Queen ever got nervous.
Then it was pre-recorded, so it got a lot easier. But that is a great British tradition. Obviously, it will be different this year with King Charles.
Yeah, it'll be very different. And I think many, everybody tunes in this country to, not everybody, but so many people tune in every year to the Queen's Christmas Day message. But I think we will still have, if not even more people tuning in this year because it is King Charles III's first Christmas Day speech. And I think everybody will be tuning in and wanting to listen to, because he will, of course, be reflecting on his mother in that speech.
He gave a great first speech, which the nation listened to. And I think this one will be something of real interest.
I'm really looking forward to it.
And of course, it's not just to the UK, it's to the Commonwealth.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's going out across the world. Right. The last one for today,
which we both really enjoy.
We do both enjoy this,
and I think it's obviously these are our favorite British traditions, but these obviously are, I'm sure, many people who are watching this, their favorite as well. But one thing that we do have here is we have a carol concert every year in the church that is, well, a part of the house that's attached to the house. And we do it every year, and it's really something that your parents started.
It is something my parents started. It's usually 3 or 4 days after Christmas. The church is usually packed. It can only fit about 80 or 90 people. There are people standing at the back. Usually we've got a choir coming. Sometimes we've got a celebrated musician coming. I mean, it's really lovely. Quite a wonderful event. And this year we are going to be live streaming it for our patrons. If you would like to join our patron community where you get lots of extra content and behind the scenes footage and and live streams and Q&As with us, please consider doing that. It's patreon.com/Mapperton Live, and it's hugely helpful in terms of supporting this important part of England's heritage. But this year's carol service, I've heard that they are looking for an additional tenor in the choir, and my name has been put forward, but I'm not sure that I'm going to.
Can you sing?
Offer my. That's so rude, isn't it? I mean, honestly, you've been married to me for ages. Anyway,
I mean, you do a good living on a prayer karaoke.
I do a good karaoke. Exactly.
So there you go. Listen, I'm not saying no, but
Can you sing?
But I am really excited for the carol service, and again, it'll be great that we're able with this new technology to live stream it as well, so we can bring it to the world, which is fantastic.
And of course, the carol service brings with it more mince pies and indeed mulled wine.
We have people from the carol service back into the house right here, actually, after the carol service to have more mulled wine and mince pies.
Talking of mulled wine, we've actually got to go and start preparing some. Because we've got people coming over this evening, and mulled wine is on the menu.
It is on the menu, and for those of you who might be wondering, well, what about Julie's traditions? Yeah, well, there's a previous video you can watch where we did our American-British Christmas differences, but rest assured, I do make eggnog. And I think, interestingly enough, a lot of people on the last video that we did last year wanted to know a little bit more about that, about what I really have brought into this family, and eggnog is one of them. So mulled wine and eggnog will be on offer.
Our eggnog is the best.
It is pretty good.
So these are questions for Julie, and they're about marrying me. They're not kind of intimate marriage questions, but they're questions about what it's like to marry in to a family like this.
Don't get cross with me about this.
Oh dear.
No. It's
Oh dear, I can feel it rising already.
There's one word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
This family is bonkers.
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 A couple of weeks ago, Julie really surprised me because we sat down in the hall and I thought we were just having a nice cup of tea and a chat. And then suddenly she puts the spotlight on me and asks me 5 tough questions. And they were quite tough.
They were, because I didn't tell you beforehand what questions
they were.
I was asking you.
So I thought, I'll get her back.
I knew this was coming. I knew this is what
you knew,
was happening
exactly.
today.
It's more than I knew, isn't it? The fact that you knew this was going on.
Well, I think I was just going to ask you a couple of questions, and then it turned into sort of 5. Because they sort of built on one another.
They built one another. Well, you know what? I'm going to start off thinking that I'm going to ask her 5 questions because I prepared 5 questions. 5 difficult questions. 5 revealing questions. Before we get into it, though, I found out a really interesting statistic. Mm-hmm. I thought that 50% of viewers watching our videos hadn't subscribed, but I went on to the very clever Google page or the YouTube page, and it said that 70% of people watching our videos haven't subscribed to our channel. Why wouldn't you subscribe to our channel if you're watching this?
We're this close to 100,000.
We are so
Mapperton Live.
close.
Now we're just begging you. Just please, we really want that award.
Come on, just
we want
press that button.
Trophy, that silver,
and what's the little
whatever
dingy bell next to it as well? Do they need
turn
to press
notifications
the
on?
dingy bell
but
too?
Yeah, do that. But right now, you do that later. Just subscribe. Get us to 100K. We're desperate now. We're begging.
Then we get a plaque.
Yeah, we get a plaque.
Well, I get a plaque. She's already got a plaque.
Well,
for her channel.
I have 2 channels really. So
no,
our plaque. Yeah, I do. Mapperton Live.
This is my channel. And you've got your channel, and occasionally the 2 merge. They kind of bump into each other.
Well, I'm on your channel all of the time. Are you ever on my channel, American Viscountess?
Because when have you invited me?
I actually have invited you a couple of times.
Put you on the spot? Come on, tell me one time. Remind me. See, I think that gives it away, doesn't it? She's constantly invading my channel. She's on it all the time.
Great. I'm going to ask you.
Anyway, we're getting really off piste here.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the main event.
Please subscribe.
So
get us to 100K.
So these are questions for Julie. and they're about marrying me. They're not kind of intimate marriage questions, but they're questions about what it's like to marry in to a family like this.
I thought you were going to ask me like easy ones, like what do you miss from America?
No,
what was it like growing up in America?
What was your favourite American cereal? You know, where did you first work?
Lucky
We know all that
Charms.
stuff.
Lucky Charms.
Okay, so here's the first question. I remember driving Julie down to Mapperton the first time and her meeting my parents. That is a funny story.
That is a funny story.
What did you think when you first came here?
There's one word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
This family is bonkers.
Bonkers.
Bonkers. Bonkers. You have to remember that I was this all-American girl 3 months into sort of our courtship that you told me that you had this kind of big house and it was sort of had history. I didn't really know what that meant because I grew up in sort of supersized America. So there's a lot of big houses in America. So when I came here, and I think just taken aback probably because of the history. And I think in my own head, I thought, well, he's got a big house. It's probably like a new build. Do you know what I mean? It was all like modern, a new build.
Mapperton
and it's,
new build.
you know, I'm sitting on, this is 300 years old. I'm certain this, almost, you know, this sofa here. So it's older than my country. I met his parents in a wood.
In a wood,
basically.
in the middle of the night.
And we would say in America, we'd say in the woods. They say over here, in the wood.
In the woods. But you still...
So we'd say in the woods. So we met in the woods in the middle of the night, really. And we were all helping to carry something. And
A log. A large log. We needed my parents' help.
We needed his parents' help. And that was the first time I met them. And we literally had like conversation.
You bonded over a log.
Over this enormous weight. And I was being, you know, asked questions while we're all carrying this enormous weight of a log. And it was asking me questions like where I'm from and, you know.
She did okay. I
Yeah.
mean, she got most of them right. I mean, not all of them, but I think you got most of them right.
But that is, I mean, can you imagine meeting your in-laws like in the middle of a wood, as you would say, in the middle of the night? I think they had just come back from a trip or something,
Yeah,
and we're all
it was cold. The heating wasn't working.
And
we needed
a heavy log.
We needed some wood for the fire. Okay, next question. This is a toughie. What have you found hardest about marrying into my family? And don't mention anything you shouldn't. Because there are every family we have.
Do you want me to be truthful here then?
Yeah, I want you to be truthful, but not
lie,
but not-
basically.
but not
Don't
that
mention
truthful.
anything but lie. So what have I found hardest? Okay, about marrying into your family, I am going to say this. Don't get cross with me about this.
Oh dear.
No. It's
Oh dear, I can feel it rising already.
it's that I can't come down to breakfast in my pajamas.
Do you know what? That probably is the tip of the iceberg, you see. The pajamas are the iceberg tip, and beneath the surface of the water is an enormous well of resentment about all the things that she can't do that she used to be able to do in America. Is that right?
And by the way, we say pajamas in America, but I have converted to say pajamas because all 4 of our children say pajamas. But anyway.
Pajamas?
Yeah,
What are they?
pajamas. Pajamas. PJs.
No one's heard of pajamas.
Yeah, pajamas. So when by the way, so I'll quickly tell this story. When I first stayed in the house here at Mapperton, I did. Breakfast was at whatever, 8:30 in the morning. I'll be really British about that, or 8:30. And I remember vividly walking down in my pajamas, and you said to me, "You mustn't do that. You must just go back upstairs."
I mean, the idea of
and
coming
get
to breakfast
changed.
in your pajamas
I was
is
terrified.
making me kind of
What have I married
recoil.
into? I can't wear my pajamas
it
to
seems
breakfast.
Astonishing that you would go to have breakfast in your pajamas. I mean, we would never ever do that. And I'm just amazed.
And we would always do that. It's so
Yeah,
wonderful.
isn't it? Yeah.
Gosh, I kind of miss that.
Well, we do that now, don't we?
No, we don't do that, actually.
She's changed the protocol.
I haven't.
She
I'm
has.
afraid
Okay, next
I haven't.
question. Next question. What do you use your title for? And is it useful?
What do I use my title for? Okay, so because our title is so long, I don't even know how many syllables it has. Viscountess Hinchingbrooke. 6 syllables. I mean, it's quite a lot. But I mean, it's just long. It has a lot of letters. I think that's the thing. It's got a lot of letters. So when you try to spell that, even the word Hinchingbrooke takes a long time. Montague is much easier. But what do I use my title for? I think nowadays I only really use my title when I'm reporting on the royals. So when I'm commentating on the royals, the networks do use my title. They will use Viscountess Hinchingbrooke. So when I was on the recent CNN Diana series, the CNN original series, they put in Viscountess Hinchingbrooke.
But that's about it. Occasionally, and I'm going to jump in here.
I think so.
I've heard Julie calling up the odd restaurant.
Oh,
and thinking,
my goodness.
and
That
thinking,
is such a farce.
I can't get a table.
No. Liar,
I'm going
liar,
to use
pants
my
on fire.
title
I
and
do
see
not.
if that gets me a table.
I do not do that.
That was a test, that one, see if you're going to be truthful.
First of all, I can't do that because even if I did do that, they wouldn't believe me because I have an American accent. Like if I called them like, hi there, so I want to book a table for myself and my 3 guests, a table of 4. What's the name under? Oh, it's under Lady Hinchingbrooke. They'd be like, yeah, American accent lady, that is not your title. I can't even get away with it because I don't have a British accent. But what was the second question to that?
What do you use it for?
No, then you said something else on the back of that.
Did I? Oh.
What was it?
Is it helpful?
Oh, so do you know nowadays it's completely not helpful. Do you think it's helpful? I don't think it's helpful. I think we've moved beyond that.
Well, the world has mostly moved on, and I think the first point that Julie made, which is that it's so long, means that it's just impractical. I mean, Luke Montague or Julie Montague is much easier. But for some things like passports and bank accounts, we still have it in there. And then if you go
we have Hinchingbrooke in...
There are certain places where you still get called your ladyship or your lordship, but not very many. Mm-hmm. So that happens very occasionally. But mostly we're just Luke and Julie.
We are mostly Luke and Julie. I'd say 99.9% of the time.
I've got another question for you. What advice would you give to your daughter-in-law if she inherits the title?
Gosh. Okay, my advice would absolutely be this. It would be don't change who you are as a person unless there are areas in your life that you know you need to work on. And we all need to work on areas in our life, whether that's whatever it is, becoming a kinder person or a more compassionate person. But I think, don't change authentically who you are. So for me, I never changed my accent. And I get words still to this day. I'm laughing because, 20 years in our marriage, he still corrects me on some words that I mispronounce.
She doesn't like it.
I think I might have mispronounced something today. Oh yes, Ian Forster. Anyway, that's another story.
You also said Viscountesses of Hinchingbrooke today.
Yeah, I mean, I get things wrong all the time.
It's fine. Does it really matter? Who's really fussy?
No. I say
who's looking?
En route, and then sometimes I'll say en route.
It's probably one or two people on YouTube who are thinking, shouldn't get that wrong.
In America, I would say en route, and then
en route.
Yeah, he's en route to us.
That sounds ghastly. En route.
And he was en route, right? So but there's so I mean, every day. So, but I would say. Take everything with a pinch of salt. So when he tries to correct me, I don't really take it personally or critically. I know you're trying to help me. Help me.
Yeah.
But I think most important is, remember where you came from and be sure to bring in your own family traditions when you're, raising children or, for here, we always have Thanksgiving and always celebrate 4th of July.
It's true.
Yeah.
The American flag flies high and proud in our household.
It does. So I think
we should get one, actually. Because we don't have a flag at Mapperton. No. We could have a flag, we could have the Montague crest and the stars and stripes.
Yeah. Because considering I don't have a coat of arms,
We could create one.
We could create one.
I got one more question.
Okay.
So, what attracted you to the aristocrat Luke Montague?
As he puts his arm around me, like, be nice about it, be nice, be kind to me.
Stephen knows the reference.
What do you mean Stephen knows the reference?
There was a famous interview once.
Oh, I don't know
where
this.
Mrs. McGee interviewed, no, not Mrs. McGee.
Who's Mrs. McGee?
Oh, what was her name? Debbie McGee.
What is this? He goes up on these tangents all the time. He's stealing my limelight here. This is supposed to be questions about me. And here he's going on he's Googling it now.
No. I was trying to remember who it was. It was Mrs. Merton. That's right. Interviewed Debbie McGee, who was the assistant to Paul Daniels. These are all wonderful British names. Julie hasn't heard of
Who are any of them?
There were getting loads of British people watching here. Going,
comment down below.
That.
I don't know.
And Mrs. Merton turned to Debbie McGee and said, so what attracted you to the millionaire Paul Daniels? And it was brilliant. Anyway, you didn't fall for it. So I think we'll let you off that.
Yeah. So do I even need to answer that question?
Well, you could if you wanted to, But
right, so I can.
But we can save it to later.
No, I could, because I feel like if I'm answering it, it's a little bit too
quite
personal.
Intimate, isn't it? It's a bit intimate, that one. And I wasn't intending this to be intimate.
Then people will think, oh, you're trying to stroke his ego. And
yeah,
I think I'll say this is, having been married to you for nearly 2 decades, I think that sums it up. That's all we need to say.
We don't say something.
It's all good.
Anything too profound. It's all good.
It's all good.
Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you've got any more impossible, revealing, tough questions for Julie,
not too personal, because I don't go there.
Just post them down below, and maybe we'll do a whole series of these. You'll just be constantly,
Yeah, we
in
could
the spotlight.
We could do a series if you have questions. And we could do a series of what our YouTubers or what our patrons want to know about us and ask the top 5 questions. Actually, that would be a really good series. So if you do have questions or episode, if you do have questions down below, let us know, because we probably will be doing another episode where you, the viewer, get to ask us questions and we will answer them.
In the meantime, if you've made it this far in the video, the least you can do is press that subscribe so we get to 100K by the next time we meet.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.